I'll now announce that the meeting for Property Standards Committee on March 17th, 2022 be approved or start. It is now 6:50. I'll ask for a motion for the approval of the agenda for tonight's meeting. Could I have a motion, a mover and a seconder?
Moved by Hamilton.
Do I have a seconder?
Seconded by Member Zuloff.
Thank you. All members, if they could just indicate yes if they're in favor of the approving the agenda.
Yes.
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 Smith?
Member Zuloff.
Yes.
Thank you. The agenda has been approved. And I don't believe there are any conflicts on the part of committee members for this meeting tonight. There are none stated. I'll now ask for a motion to approve the minutes from the previous meeting of Thursday, March 11th, 2021 of the Property Standards Committee held that date. Do I have a mover and seconder?
So move.
Member Emmett, and who's the seconder?
Member Zuloff, I can second that too.
Thank you. I'll just ask all committee members to indicate yes if you are in favor of adopting the minutes from Thursday, March 11th, 2021, starting with Member Emmett,
Yes.
Hamilton,
Yes.
Smith,
Yes.
Zuloff,
Yes.
Vamus.
Yes.
Brown, yes. The minutes from the previous meeting have been adopted. We will now move on to item 6 for the public hearings. And I'll just note that I have been told there are certain parties, Jason Gernhardt, present, the landlord, Andrew Tlustos, and the tenant representatives, Vince Bacino, and I believe George Barton is present. So if they are all online, please note if you can hear me or if there's any problems. And with that, I will now turn it over to Bylaw Officer Jason for his presentation of this appeal.
Good evening. Thank you, Madam Chair, members of the committee. Everybody can hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. Thank you.
Okay, so the situation that brings us here tonight is a complaint that was received on January 11th, 2022, specifically relating to 33 Dumfries Unit C. This information came to us via public complaint. Specifically that there was no working toilet or fixtures in that unit, Unit C, which I believe is an upstairs unit, and that the door had been nailed shut. There was some photographs that were provided to us. Those are included in the package that was supposed to have gone out. I believe it's packet or exhibit number 1. There should be a picture of a toilet, the door being shut. There may have been one other picture in there, but those were the main ones of focus. From that point, I think Alyssa's bringing it up there. Excellent. So there's the toilet, which I believe was placed in the living room downstairs after it was removed. And then the door was nailed shut by the landlord, which was conveyed to me by the complainant. My next step of investigation was to speak to the landlord, who provided this package here, which is a inspection that was completed by, if you just scroll up there for a second, Alyssa, by Service Master Restoration Company. And this was provided to me by Mr. Tulastos. So essentially, due to COVID situation, not many in-person inspections were being done. This report is very thorough, very in-depth. I believe there's approximately 10 or 11, maybe 12 pages to it, along with moisture readings, many photographs, and recommendations from this company. So I used this inspection report from Mr. Tulastos as my main means of observing the damage, observing the situation as it was presented to us at this situation. As you can see in some of those pictures there, you have equipment being used to dry out moisture. I believe this is the downstairs location. Maybe if once Mr. Tulastos can give us the his side, but if we scroll down a little further, so here is the actual bathroom itself. As you can see, there's bits of flooring missing and significant water damage to the flooring area there, which required the drying equipment. And so the toilet had been taken out, obviously for safety reasons, and the door had been nailed shut, hence the reason why the door had been nailed shut. Excuse me. If we scroll down a little bit more, a little bit further, keep going. So there's some more pictures there showing that the water damage has seeped through the floor, through approximately the upstairs floor and the downstairs floor, and affected the drywalling. They really had to remove the drywalling. So as you can see, this report is in depth and was accepted by me as sufficient for the inspection. If you scroll down further, there's inspections on the water damage, and there's moisture readings. We continue to go down here. So here we get into some of the moisture readings where it involves category 3 water, which I'm assuming is sewage water. And it basically goes on to show the areas, living areas that were affected by this overflow. Now, in my conversations with Mr. Tulastos, Mr. Tulastos alleges that the damage was caused by the tenant of Unit C. And of course, not having been there myself, I can't prove one way or the other. All I can say is that there is significant damage and that the washroom is no longer operable, nor is it safe to operate at that time with the chunks of floor missing, and that repairs would be needed. The next topic of conversation that took place between myself and the complainant was that individuals who were affected by this closure of the bathroom were not supplied with any temporary options for a receptacle. So basically no washrooms were provided. So individuals had to, or had been in the habit of walking down the street and using a nearby restaurant for said bathroom purposes. So as a temporary fix, it was agreed upon by the complainant as well as to the Mr. Tulastos that a porta potty would be supplied for a temporary fix while the the issues were being rectified and the situation was being fixed. This was agreed upon, and I believe that there may have been some miscommunication or misunderstanding by Mr. Tulastos, who felt that this was the only issue that needed to be rectified. However, you know, the root of the cause is that the bathroom needed to be fixed as per our bylaws under 205-2, in that, you know, a working water closet must be provided to all occupants, and the drainage and plumbing must be up to standards and working properly. So Mr. Tulastos agreed to supply said porta potty, and the complainant was happy that they no longer had to walk down the street to go use the bathroom at the local restaurant. So fast forward to January 25th, where I issued the first of 2 property standards orders, essentially explaining to the property owner, Mr. Talastos, section 30 and section 20 of the property standards bylaw. In short, as you can read there, stating that, every residence shall have at least one water closet, which the resident upstairs was not able to use, that the plumbing must be in sufficient working order, and that I believe there's 4 points there that were rectified out there, and given an in-depth required actions there for him to complete for this order to be to bring the property into compliance. This was issued to Mr. Talastos on January 25th. Now, as you can see, just scroll up there a little second there for me, Alyssa, thank you. So the process of emailing property standards orders recently just came into effect. And I was unaware that a signature had to be added via an electronic system. So it was sent without a signature on the first issuance. Once we were made aware of that and we referenced the requirement for a signature, in conjunction with Mr. Talastos, we reissued the order with the exact same requirements on February 16th. Mr. Talastos filed for an appeal on February 7th of 2022. We kept that date of appeal the same, even after the February 16th reissuance, just to keep matters, in line and moving forward, so that the individuals could get this matter dealt with, just to, in a matter of fairness, so that we could get this handled with. I believe that is all the evidence that I have to present at the moment. I'm available for questions at this time.
Thank you for the presentation, Jason. Does the committee have any questions to the bylaw officer on this matter? I believe there are none. Now, from what I understand, the appealing party, Drew Talustos, is present. Does he wish to make a presentation?
Yes, please.
Okay, I'll turn it over to you now, Mr. Talustos, to present.
Is everyone ready? Sorry.
As far as I know, everyone is ready. The committee is all present.
Okay. Well, I thank you all, Madam Chair and members of the committee, for your time to this evening. I just want to say first, put yourself in my shoes. So basically, a tenant or another party negligently damages your home or property, then proceeds to complain about it. It's basically the situation I am, the occupant of 33C, basically the night of December 29th. The toilet was plugged, back up, whatever happened. He says the toilet was it needed repairs. I was unaware of, but that's here nor there. My big issue with it is the fact that I came home from work. My girlfriend was in the bath, and the smoke detector was going off. And after I further investigated, I hear water dripping, and it was luckily enough the smoke detector that getting wet would set off the alarm and notified me to obviously the issues. Obviously at that point I was speaking emergency, went up the unit there where the water was coming from, and I looked, and you can see it as the photos had come right across the living room through the bathroom, causing obviously significantly damage in the north of probably $30,000. Which again, I understand stuff happens, accidents happen, insurance in place. The aggravating part is when I came home, I asked the tenant what happened, and he said he tried to knock on my door. I wasn't home. Girlfriend was in the bathtub, but he failed to call me. And instead of trying to clean it up, turn the water valve off, mitigate any further damage, he told me that he went down the road to have a smoke at his buddies and just blatantly left it. which obviously is very frustrating. So it's very frustrating when the party's making a complaint, obviously, for something that he caused, obviously. Like I said, I know stuff happens. I'm not upset about that. I'm upset that he just kind of walked away and just said it's not my problem and just kind of let it go. I did speak with the landlord tenant board. Given the matter, obviously in this loss, the bathroom's inoperable. It's unsafe for him to be in there. I told him that. I had actually called like Goodwill and stuff like that, places that could provide emergency shelter. I told him like you can't be here. Obviously repairs are going to need to be made, and he refused to leave. I went above and beyond what the landlord tenant board said that I need to do. Obviously said that his tenant insurance obviously would supply, I guess, other accommodations. And unfortunately he doesn't have tenant insurance. But then he refused to leave. So I have all the intentions to make the next repair. I understand Bylaw is doing a job, and I don't fault him with that. And I understand there's rules and regulations. It's like I said, it's very frustrating when given the situation. Dealing with insurance, not an overnight process. I have not even come to an agreement with a price to make the said repairs from insurance company yet. And I have actually been actively working. Luckily enough, the lower unit that was damaged was vacant, but I did have another tenant that was supposed to move in, and I've already had agreement signed, and I had to get him in there. So I just actually finished the renovations probably last week there. I shouldn't say renovations, but the repairs to put it back in good standing order. Sorry, I slipped my notes here. I have applied for a permit to the renovations up there. Since I purchased the property, I've always wanted to do something up there. It is dated, it needs work, and unfortunately, it has not been cared for in terms of, cleaning, maintenance and stuff like that, unfortunately, and it is time to be redone. So I have applied for a permit. To me, it doesn't make sense on another note to obviously go and dump a bunch of money in there to make said repairs, just to pull it all out, obviously, in a month or two when I get my permit, as well as given the extent of the damage, the correct way to make the repairs would be to remove the bathtub, which can be seen in the photo, and remove the subfloor underneath, so that way you don't have a point that's going to squeak, and as well as the wall that is framed there. Obviously, it was never done correctly. There's no bottom plate, and obviously, if you can see, it's old post and beam construction. So that being said, it's not quite as simple as just cutting a piece of plywood out. There's going to have to be some back framing. So basically, you can see from the photo there, the correct way probably to cut that back, obviously, reframe joists in there, and put proper sheeting down. What else here? Sorry. And then the other thing, I guess, issue I have with it too is the tenant, with all this going on, has made threats to me that have been notified to police, and me nor my significant other is real comfortable being in there to make repairs while he is there. It's hard to make repairs while he's there because if I got to open it up, it's a liability issue, number one. But number two, not to talk ill, but he has known to frequently be intoxicated and have sometimes be violent. And it's known by police, and I am not real comfortable, honestly, going in there with his history or whatever, and given kind of some of the threats, and obviously he's not very happy with me, so it is a bit of a concern there. So like I said, even if I were to go in there and tear it apart to remove that wall and leave that floor open, if he falls and hurts himself, who's liable? It's very hard to fix that where it's occupied. Like I said, I politely asked him to leave. I've gone above and beyond to try and find him other accommodations, which isn't my responsibility. But I've had no prevail. And then with timeline too, the other issue right now, materials are hard to find. That bathtub is going to have to come out, probably going to have to be replaced. So even trying to get bathtubs and stuff to order, it takes time right now. Just this stuff doesn't happen overnight. I have full intentions to make repairs. It just obviously, I need more time. And B, just given this current situation, I guess, the market and the economy, everything is real difficult to get right now. So I am in construction. We struggle with this every day. And if you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer.
Thank you, Mr. Toulouse. I'll ask the committee, do you have any questions for the landlord at this time?
Member Hamilton here.
Please go ahead.
To the landlord, have you received rent checks from December through March of this year?
Oh, sorry, I thought I was on mute there. Yes, I have. It comes through ODSP. Obviously, I asked him to leave, and if that was the case, obviously we left. Obviously, that would have been forfeited. Obviously, with that being said, obviously, if the tenant isn't there, my insurance does cover a policy, obviously, to cover bills. So that if the tenant has to leave and you're not getting rent income, obviously, because of repairs have to be made due to an insurance claim, they will cover those costs, obviously. So those. He refuses to leave, obviously, and he's burning, hydro and using stuff right there, so to cover bills, obviously. But as soon as he were to leave, obviously that would be, I guess, forfeited or returned or in whatever manner, I guess, appropriate. It's all sent through. Sent through the Ontario Assistance Program, so it's not the tenant; it comes to there. So.
But you have received funds for rent to cover off that area that is not that has been torn apart, correct?
From insurance or from the party or from the insurance? Sorry.
It doesn't matter to me. I'm just saying, you received the funds?
Yes. Yes.
And I guess second of all, with this happened prior to December 31st, and we're almost at the end of March. That's 3 months. And my question to you, what have you done, actually physically done, to try and improve the situation, other than talk to insurance companies and talk to your tenant?
Oh, I've gotten a porta potty, like I said, and then from December and when it first happened till now, I've had made repairs. Obviously, I work full time. I'd make repairs in that front unit, and like I said, it's not even as simple just getting someone right now. Like I said, everyone's busy, so I've made repairs obviously from December to now in that front unit. They said the tenant just moved in down there the other day, and that's where I've been doing. But I have, like I said, I got him a porta potty. And unfortunately, like I said, it's one of those things, and due to the extent of the damage, it is hard. So I have asked them, when he plans to leave. I've tried to come up with resolutions, asking, can you go to family? Can you go to friends? And he just does not want to leave, unfortunately, to make repairs.
Thank you.
Member Zulaw, to the chair,
Please go
Member
ahead.
Zulaw. You're saying, okay, the tenant refuses to leave. Is there not provisions in the Residential Tenancy Act that allows you to temporarily evict a tenant if you need to do renovations to the extent that the property be uninhabitable? Have you pursued that at all?
Sorry, that is correct. Yes, I have hired someone to, because obviously understands the system and how that works a lot better than I do. I have hired someone to do that and is in the process, but due to COVID and the backups and everything, it's taken some time. That was why originally I had gone to Bylaw and asked if Mr. Gernhardt could sign, because that was one of the requirements from the legal team. And they asked, obviously, because they were trying to get an emergency hearing based on the order. So he could be out, so I could make sufficient repairs.
Is there a landlord-tenant board hearing date set yet?
Unfortunately, no. We're just waiting to hear for a date. And like I said, I keep following up with them, and unfortunately, they just can't tell. They just tell me you just given the way I guess the world is right now, you just have to wait, and then we'll notify you as soon as it is. So because I'd like to get this rectified sooner than later, obviously as well. But unfortunately, they just keep telling me just kind of sit tight, and we will contact you once we have a date.
Well, when did you serve the tenant with the eviction notice?
Within days of the incident. I can't tell you exactly what day. It happened on the 29th.
Okay.
I think it was like first or second day in the new year, I believe. Maybe not first, but second or third day, I believe.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Any further questions from the committee for Mr. Toulouse? I have a question, if other members don't, to Mr. Toulouse. You indicated you have applied for a permit. I'm assuming you mean a building permit. Is that to complete renovations to this unit, or was it for the other one?
That's correct. It's for that unit. So I talked with the chief building official, Rick Wiedos, and obviously he was fine with just putting the lower unit back together, and the way that it was, I guess, originally built. With that being said, since I purchased the property, I've had plans of what work I want to do up there. And now, obviously, that it's tore apart, it's the most reasonable time, obviously, to complete those repairs, because it doesn't make sense to repair the unit to, in the near future, spend that money and rip it out and throw it in a dumpster to do it all again. So I figured it with it, where it's halfway apart right now. Now is the proper time to obviously do those, and that's why the permit has been applied for.
And so the changes are significant. So are you moving the bathroom?
It's not so much the bathroom. It's moving the turning it to a 2-bedroom, basically. So we're adding another bedroom.
Okay, so is there an addition to the building? Is that, like, I'm trying to understand why a building permit is being required.
I'm not sure. I know you guys deal with some of this stuff sometimes in terms of what do you call it? Change of zoning and stuff like that. But in the building code, obviously, the time you need typically as a permit is obviously if it's structure, plumbing, or if it's change of use. Obviously, in this instance, it's change of use because it's turning from a 1 to 2-bedroom.
Okay, so then do you have any idea as to how long that process would take if you're converting it?
Honestly, I don't even know, because like I said, unfortunately, like I said, at that point, like I said, it just, I'm going to replace the kitchen cabinets, and I have stuff on order. Like I said, bathtubs, unfortunately, for one, they're hard to get because of I guess that freeze over in Texas there a few years ago. There's issues with resins and stuff like that, so it's hard to get pipe and stuff like that. So it is on order. I don't even have a date, pretty much. I'm just waiting for them to tell me, I've got not a temporary date, but I guess a preliminary date, kind of where they said it might, but it's never guaranteed, and usually it gets back ordered weeks beyond that, it seems.
Okay, thank you. I understand that it can take time with the COVID problem. Does the committee have any further questions to Mr. Bustos before we request the other parties to speak? I believe there are none. Then I'll ask of Alyssa, are the other tenants or the tenants' representation, are they present and willing to provide a presentation now?
Thank you, Madam Chair. We have Vincent on the line. Vincent, would you like to speak?
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes. Hi, my name is Vincent Bajacchio. How are you?
Fine. Good evening. And then can you provide your presentation at this moment?
Yes, I can. Mike has been without a working shower or working toilet since December the 31st. Several weeks after his landlord provided him with an outdoor porta potty, which was more than 20 feet from his front door entrance path and full of ice and extremely icy at all times. The landlord chose to work in an empty apartment below Mike's apartment rather than doing any of the necessary repairs in Mike's apartment. We have pictures and witnesses of this. Are these really appropriate living arrangements for a landlord to provide for his tenant and collect rent? I don't know what to say. Due to the landlord-tenant rules and regulations, do they not apply to the tenants in Paris as they do in the rest of the province? Is this a setback because of COVID? I don't know, maybe it is, because I've owned 14 houses. 20 years ago, I've been renting houses out, 30 years ago, and I've never seen this before. And furthermore, I'd like to add one thing. The toilet was faulty, and Mike's neighbor, Roger, which we can prove, offered to change that toilet for over a year on Mike's behalf. And the young gentleman, Drew, said no. he wanted them out then and he wants them out now, which is fine. But God, treat the guy fair. He's not an animal. My dog goes outside to go to the washroom. My dog can't have a shower in the house. What about Mike's dignity as a challenged man? He's no troublemaker. Those little offenses that he's talking about. Mike's a drinker, sure, but what did he ever do? I've done worse than him, and I own my own business today. Anyway, that's all I really have to say. Thank you for hearing me.
Does the committee have any comments or questions to Vincent? I believe there are none. I will now ask Alyssa, there is another party who wishes to present?
Madam Chair, we have nobody else online tonight.
Okay. Then I will ask the committee for any further comments or questions or potential suggestions on the motions. Recognizing we can uphold the order, we can quash it, or we can extend some time.
Member Hamilton here. This is a question to Drew, the owner. Do you have any idea how much time you would need to go ahead and get this? I guess you're waiting for some supplies, one thing. But can you not find a used bathtub or whatever, toilet to make it functional and do something that way? Just wondering what kind of a timeline you would need to make this apartment livable.
Well, thank you, Mr. Member. As far as timeline, it's one of those things that's hard to say. Honestly, I want to get it done as soon as possible. I'm coming up to my busy season with work, and then obviously, so I want to get it done as soon as possible. So realistically, once I can have full access, I probably need maybe a month or two, obviously, to complete renovations. With that being said, it's not even so much even about getting a used bathtub or something like that. It's basically the extent of the floor is a big issue as well, because once you remove, it's hard to tell, but once you remove the bathroom wall, it's open to below. And then, because basically to repair that subfloor properly, I got to cut everything back. So you remove that tub, cut everything back, but then it's open. So now I got to worry about someone falling and hurting themselves. Obviously, now that this is open, obviously it's hard to open it up and leave it safely where I don't have to worry about if I'm going to be liable for someone falling through the floor or something like that, unfortunately. Like I said, I want to get it done as soon as possible, but again, it's hard. And the other issue, obviously, and it's here nor there, but it just obviously with all the contents in the way, I don't know what to do with those, obviously, at the moment, which it's here nor there. Yeah, it's a big thing. Is like I said, it won't be safe for me to tear it apart and then put it back together while it's being habited, right?
I'll comment. I do understand the dilemma with renovations due to supply issues over the past year. I will put it out to the committee. It looks like we could provide an extension recognizing the timeline. It appears there's two timelines here. One for his permit to do significant changes to that unit, and the date for the tenant hearing, which I believe I heard that there was an attempt to schedule an emergency hearing so that the tenant would have to have alternative accommodations while repairs are done. So I'll just ask some of the committee members what their thoughts are on those two separate timelines.
Member Zuloff, I direct a question just to the agent for the tenant there. Do you know why the tenant, well, first of all, did he get an eviction notice on the basis of the renovations on January 2nd?
Mr. Buchak, Vincent, your mic is muted. Could you please respond to Member Zuloff?
Sorry, go ahead. Sorry.
Well, okay, first I want to clarify, did the tenant, did he get an eviction notice at the beginning of January as stated?
This I'm not aware of. As far as I know, he didn't, but he may have. Something might have been put in his mailbox. I don't know for sure. I'm not going to say something I'm not 100% sure of. I'll only speak of what I'm 100% sure of.
Okay. Do you know why he apparently won't move out while the renovations are taking place?
Because he's got nowhere to go. Who's going to take care? Isn't it up to? I know me as a landlord in the past, I had to provide accommodations. Am I wrong by saying that? Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe things have changed. I'm asking you. Am I wrong?
Member Zuloff is a lawyer, and all committee members are not necessarily familiar with the requirements of the Landlord Tenant Act, which appears to be a major problem here. And then add the COVID factor as well too, where I've heard many instances where hearings cannot be obtained. I would ask the bylaw officer, Jason Gernhard, if he in any documentation received a copy of the eviction notice, which has been dated early January.
Well, to be honest, I was just searching through my emails for that. And I haven't found any, but well, I can safely say that I have not received a copy of any eviction notice issued to the tenant. It may have been mentioned to me, and that's just what I'm currently looking through my correspondence for, but I have not received any copy of that eviction notice.
Then I would ask the landlord, Mr. Touloustos, do you have a copy you can produce?
I'd have to look. Honestly, I don't even know if it's in my email. I hired a firm to deal with this matter, and then I know they serve the paper in person. So like I said, I pretty much gave it to them, and they understand the system, and they haven't provided me. I could look back. I have to try to figure out how to log into. There's a porthole with all kinds of documents. I can see if they've uploaded something there. I actually haven't looked, but it might be in there. I haven't actually looked at it until I uploaded the documents that they needed originally.
Okay, thank you. Then I would suggest that as a property standards committee, we have no authority that we could not force an eviction or get a hearing scheduled for you. All we can do, and I'm suggesting this to the committee, is we potentially look at deferring a decision on this until we receive more documentation that an eviction notice was done. We get more input from the parties as to how they can negotiate, because I do understand there's a dilemma in completing renovations. So I would ask the committee what suggestions they may have as to how we can either reschedule this hearing or ask for an extension for potential repairs to be done. What are your thoughts?
Member Zuloff again. I've got a question for the bylaw officer. If we vote to enforce this order, what happens exactly? Is the town or the county going to perform hire a contractor to do the repairs? How long is that going to take exactly?
That would be the easiest and quickest way to resolve this issue. We would definitely source it out, get some quotes, and then have the most reasonable or economic of the contractors get that done. And then I believe the cost will be put back onto the property taxes and or back to the tenant, the landlord. I unmuted myself there. And unfortunately, given the current state, I don't have a timeline for that. It could be a week or two to get all the estimates in, and then whatever time the contractors are looking at to complete that. Again, I'm not a contractor and I can only go by what they would tell me when we received that. So I really couldn't give the committee a really valid answer on that. I'm sorry.
Thank you, Jason. Mr. Tlustos, would you, if the committee decides to uphold this order, recognizing again, we have a timeline problem, would you be able to check with your insurance company as to what would be covered? I'm assuming with a claim like this, they would be willing to pay for a contractor to complete the work. Or what was your negotiations with the insurance company that you were only completing the work and not engaging any contractors?
That is correct. I work in construction. So basically I have seen insurance work. I do not, like I said, wouldn't be happy, I know, with the contractors the insurance company hired, or the restoration companies hired, sorry. I've elected, obviously, I'd like to fix it myself. Obviously that takes time. I have spoke with insurance, obviously. The repairs there, we're obviously trying to hammer out, obviously, a price. With that being said, one of the issues insurance will not, and which I guess comes back to, is even if insurance were to bring a company in to do it, is the insurance company will not deal with or move any of the tenant's contents because I'm not insured, and that's under the tenant's tenant insurance. Unfortunately, he doesn't have that. So then, from what I gather, is they probably wouldn't be able to do the work with the contents in there, because it needs to be empty for them to move it, to do it, is what pretty much from what I understood of my conversations with insurance and restoration.
Okay, thank you for the answer. Then I think at this point, we have a lot of problems that need to be addressed. And as a committee, I'm not sure we can address all of them. What would be the committee's thoughts on deferring a decision or making a motion that we were to wait for when the emergency hearing is scheduled? That would give us a determination as to whether or not the tenant can stay with repairs ongoing. Any thoughts?
Well,
Member Hamilton here, I think we should look at deferring. And I was wondering if we can get some of this information pulled together in something for us to work on at a later date. And therefore, Jason, being the individual who's been contacted and wrote up the order here, would be the key contact point to gather this information so it could provide us, so we could make a better decision as to what is needed. I don't know if that falls under the bylaw office, but officer's responsibility, but somebody has to take it, and I would think it would be the bylaw officers that would look at that right now to gather the information so we can pull it together giving it time. At the same time, maybe Mr. Zuloff can give us a little better understanding, waiting for that emergency meeting with the landlord tenant and going that way so that we can get some decisions made as to what's going on. And thirdly, leaving that porta potty there for the tenant as things go forward right now until we can find out what's going on, because I think this is almost one step above our scope of making a decision on what we can do to assist without having some more information. I'll leave it at that.
Yes, it was indicated by you, Jason, that you would need to determine how long it would take a contractor if we uphold the order. So I tend to agree with that. We'd need information on a potential contractor if the order is upheld. And we need to see information if the eviction notice was provided early January, so that we could at least follow up with if there is a hearing. And perhaps Member Zuloff could comment on that.
Well, yeah, the hearings are definitely backlogged because it was shut for a while due to COVID and everything. My one concern with deferring this is that the tenant's already gone nearly 3 months without a functioning bathroom. We defer it, well, that's just going to be a minimum of another month till next month's meeting, and then probably another month or two after that. I mean, is he going to be going half a year without a bathroom? It almost seems the easiest solution is to uphold the order, and then even from the landlord's point of view, that puts it in the county's responsibility to have it fixed. It would probably be the fastest way to actually get the repairs done too.
Okay, well then I would ask if you would provide a motion on that, and then do we have a second?
I would move to uphold the order.
Do I have a second?
Member Smith, I just have a quick question maybe, and this might actually go to the landlord, just thinking this through. Because obviously the existing tenant is going to have to go somewhere probably until those renovations are complete. And I understand it's just the washroom, but through the tenant, have you looked into any, I know you mentioned that you've been looking for some alternative housing. Have you reached out to the housing authority for the city of Brantford and Brant to see if there's any supports there for him to have temporary accommodations?
I have reached out to, not Goodwill, I'm trying to think, St. Vincent de Paul, I believe. I have tried reaching out to his caseworker with no prevail. I've asked him in the past who it is. He doesn't know who it is. I've tried to get hold of them. I've called the housing authority, and the one, I'm sorry, I can't remember which, because I called a few different places. I can't remember which one. The one I did get through of about emergency, I guess, shelter or housing. They said that obviously the tenant needs to call on his behalf. I did obviously call, and then I gave Mr. Smith the information. I told him, call this number. Whether he actually called them or not, I don't know. But when I tried to follow up, they said that there's nothing pretty much I could do, and that the tenant needs to, I guess, look or seek on his behalf, and I can't really do anything on his behalf. So as much as I tried, I was just kind of spinning my tires, unfortunately.
Okay, thank you. I just want to see that there was some efforts at least, so there is potentially an option for him to reach out as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Member Smith. Then I would ask the tenant's representative, Vincent, have you tried to find alternative housing, since it appears for the tenant, since the tenant does seem to have some challenges?
We've all tried. There's actually about 8 of us, to be honest with you. I'm sorry, can you hear me?
Agencies? Yes, I can hear you.
Yeah, there's actually about 8 of us who have been trying. in Paris and Brantford and what have you. And it doesn't look like there's much available for him. I don't know whose responsibility it is to find him a place to live. We just don't know how this works, but there's nothing out there as far as for him, for the amount of money he has to pay. We don't know how that works, and I don't know how that works. But
I thought the Salvation Army provided temporary housing.
that's quite
because
possible.
it
That's quite possible.
Is that one of the agencies you have reached out to?
No, we were looking at actual housing, trying to get him something, knowing that his days are probably numbered. Thinking along that line. I mean, you know, the way things are looking, I mean, he doesn't even have a shower. So for someone not to provide a shower for you, never forget the toilet. His
But
days are numbered. So
you-
we were looking for something more permanent.
Right, and
But
it
nothing's
appears
available.
that these conditions have been around, as was pointed out, for 3 months. And then going forward, it looks like there is no quick solution to fixing this bathroom.
Well,
So,
I know that I could fix my bathroom tomorrow if I had to, and not to be a smart guy, I know I could. I'm in the business. I know I could have a toilet put in my bathroom, a floor fixed tomorrow. But that's just my
okay, well,
opinion.
okay. And the committee has heard much input, so I would ask the committee, are you prepared to make a motion on this appeal now?
I'll second the motion to uphold.
Okay, so member Zuloff, could you please provide the motion that you wish to state on this appeal? And member Smith is seconding it, and then we will put it to a vote.
Okay, I move to uphold the order of the property standards order of February 16th, 2022.
Okay, thank you. So you have stated to uphold the order by the county to complete the repairs as soon as possible. I will ask for and member Smith is the second. I will ask, starting with member Emmett, and I will ask the committee to vote on it. Starting with member Emmett, if you support, please state yes.
Yes.
Member Hamilton,
Yes.
member Zuloff,
Yes.
Smith,
Yes.
Vamus,
Yes.
and I believe I have everyone except myself, since member Schmidt is not present. Brown, yes. I believe the motion has been approved by the committee. The order to complete the repairs has been upheld, and I would ask that Jason Gernhardt will proceed with the necessary actions. Thank you, members and presenters.
Before you go, can I just have one quick question? If upheld, meaning obviously the repairs need to be made. So are you guys saying that the county is going to come make repairs, or do I get some kind of a time obviously to do it then? Because I don't think it's fair, obviously, that the county can just select whoever they feel like to go there and fix it. You know, when, you know, like, I realize I don't feel safe in there, but maybe obviously, you know, maybe he needs to leave for a few days or something. I don't know. And I could, you know, maybe something temporary. I don't know, but I just don't think it's fair, obviously, that the county can go in there and, just pay someone to do it, obviously, without giving me, some time.
You will have to speak to Mr. Gernhardt about that. Is Mr. Gernhardt still online?
I'm still here.
Can you speak directly to Mr. Touloustos regarding this matter where negotiations and agreements will be made as to the timeline and the extent and the contractor engagement?
Well, I'll be happy to include Mr. Touloustos in conversation with that. But ultimately, at the end of the day, it will be our decision who we choose to hire and the timeline that they give. If that's a suitable timeline, then that's what we'll go with. Unfortunately, there's already been 3 months that have passed, and so it's got to get fixed. So I will be happy to engage with Mr. Touloustos on the subject and include him at every step of the way. But now that the order has been upheld, it's going to get fixed, essentially.
Does that answer your question, Mr. Touloustos?
Not really.
You
So
will-
how can I not have time? Obviously, I realize what you're saying, but I disagreed with it to begin with. And now you guys are saying that, that it's not my decision. That's just from what I
Well,
gathered.
you appealed this order and we did hear it as a committee. So this is the result that we voted to uphold the order. So I'm assuming that you will work with Mr. Gernhardt with the county and then progress will take place. So unfortunately, that's the answer you will have to receive on this because 3 months have passed now. Okay.
And I can take this to the Ontario Municipal Board, can I not?
I don't believe so. This is not Committee of Adjustments. This is property standards. We are the party you appealed to.
Madam Chair, can I add a comment? It's Greg Bergeron, the manager of bylaw enforcement.
Yes, please go ahead.
So in answer to Mr. Toulo's question, he does have the ability to appeal to Superior Court after 14 days of us issuing the written decision. And Superior Court can essentially do the same thing that the committee can do. They can confirm, rescind, modify, or extend the order. And that's certainly his prerogative if he wants to do that.
Thank you
You're
for
welcome.
advising me. Does that answer your question now, Mr. Touloustos?
I
So
believe so. I believe
it
so.
wouldn't-
I just
Okay.
need some more time.
Okay, that will be fine. So then you will have to watch for the order, recognizing you only have 14 days to appeal it to Superior Court.
Okay.
Okay, thank you for everyone present. I believe there are no further items on our agenda, and our next meeting would be determined based on whatever complaints have come first. I'll now ask the committee if I can have a mover and seconder to adjourn this meeting of the Property Standards Committee for Thursday, March 17th, 2022.
Emmett,
Member Emmett is the motion, will provide the motion. Do I have a second?
Hamilton,
Hamilton? Member Emmett, can you please provide your motion?
moved by myself, seconded by member Hamlin, that we adjourn the meeting.
Thank you. I'll ask the committee members to indicate just either by a show of hand or stating yes to adjourn the meeting.
Yes.
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 Yes. Thank you. I'll now declare them, and I have voted yes. The meeting of the property standards has now been adjourned. Have a good night.